The 9-year-old daughter eagerly looked forward to her mother attending her art performance. Evelyn, however, coldly pushed her daughter away. "It's just a stupid performance, isn't it? Simon has something that needs to be dealt with. I'll come back after I handle it." Watching my daughter's tears of grievance roll down her cheeks, my heart twisted like a knife. We've been married for 10 years, yet Evelyn has always been running to another man's home, and that man is even her foster brother. She says Simon has just returned to the country, knows no one, and is raising his child alone, so he needs her care. And so she has been a mother to someone else's child for 9 years, while ignoring our own biological daughter. When Evelyn once again abandoned me and our daughter for Simon, we decided we would never forgive her again. Chapter 1. When Evelyn once again walked out of the house without looking back in front of me and Lily, my heart completely fell into the abyss. This time, too, it was for her foster brother Simon. She mercilessly abandoned this family. Before leaving, she threw out a sentence: "Take good care of Lily. As soon as I'm done with Simon's matters, I'll be back." I knew in my heart that once she left, she wouldn't show up for at least a night, or maybe days. This wasn't the first time this had happened. Lily clutched at her skirt hem, her tiny voice full of hope. "Mom, will you really come back tonight?" Evelyn didn't even turn her head. Her tone hurried. "Mommy promised." How could I break my word? But ever since Lily was born, she hasn't been there for a single important moment of our child's growth. I remember. At first, my marriage with Evelyn Lynn began as a business alliance between the Lynn family and mine, but we did have a 2-year relationship foundation. Right after our marriage, she was gentle and caring toward me. However, since Simon moved into the Lynn household, everything changed. Evelyn drifted farther and farther away from me, putting all her attention on Simon. She acted like she was handling state affairs, coming home absurdly late, especially when she found out she was pregnant. She didn't seem to look forward to the child at all. After Lily was born, I devoted myself to taking care of her and Evelyn. I was afraid Lily's crying at night would disturb Evelyn's rest, so I took Lily to sleep in the next room. But not long after giving birth, she left our still nursing daughter to go to Simon. Over these married years, I've been fighting in the business world while taking care of everything at home, being both father and mother. Yet Evelyn ignored my efforts and our child's needs, focusing solely on her foster brother. Now the house has once again become a cold, empty shell. Even for our daughter's once-a-year performance, she chose to be absent. Seeing Lily's eyes turning red, her small face holding back disappointment, my hand trembled uncontrollably as I pulled out my phone and dialed Evelyn's number. This was my last attempt to awaken the faintest trace of maternal love in her, to salvage this hollow marriage. "Evelyn, Lily's performance is about to start. Can you come back now? She really wants you to see it." On the other end of the line came her impatient voice. In the background, I could vaguely hear Simon and his daughter laughing and playing. "Benjamin, how many times have I told you? Simon needs me more. Is it easy for him to raise a child alone? Lily is just being childish. You're an adult, don't you know priorities? What's so important about a silly school performance? Just have the nanny record a video. Stop bothering me." The call ended with a harsh click. Holding the phone to my ear, I felt my heart completely die. This wasn't the first time she had abandoned us for Simon without hesitation. All these years, Evelyn's name in this home has been more like a cold, lifeless label, suppressing the surging emotions. I, as usual, took Lily alone to the performance. After it ended, while scrolling on my phone, I accidentally saw Simon's latest post. The photo showed him and his daughter, with Evelyn standing behind them tenderly, the three of them like a happy little family. Simon's little girl was holding a limited edition princess doll. It was the very gift Lily had been dreaming of, the reward Evelyn had long promised to give her after her performance. Just yesterday, Lily had quietly told me that Mommy had promised her this gift. "Daddy, doesn't Mommy love me? Why is she always away from home and giving the gift she promised me to someone else?" Seeing the photo, the tears Lily had just held back in public finally burst out. Watching my daughter cry in grievance felt like being cut with a blunt knife. "Lily, let's not have this, Mommy, anymore. Okay." Lily nodded hard and threw herself into my arms. "She always lies to Daddy and makes Daddy unhappy. Lily doesn't want a mommy like that." I held Lily tightly, my eyes turning resolute. My marriage with Evelyn had reached its end. Chapter 2. It has been 10 years since I started maintaining this hollow marriage. I have dutifully played the role of the Lynn family's son-in-law, working hard to sustain my own career while also shouldering the burden of our family. In public, I cooperated with the Lynns, acting out the image of a stable alliance that benefited both families. At home, I handled all domestic affairs and cared for Lily, managing everything down to the smallest details. Evelyn Lynn was always picky about food, clothing, and lifestyle, but I always managed to coordinate with the chefs and housekeepers to make sure she was satisfied. When attending public events, even her outfits and styling were arranged under my instructions through assistants and stylists. At the company, I personally oversaw projects related to the Lin Group, ensuring the cooperation between both parties remained smooth. After Lily was born, I poured all my energy into her, spending every bit of free time outside my busy work schedule to be with her. I taught her to talk and walk, took her to and from school, and attended every single one of her performances. But Evelyn, she was always absent when Lily and I needed her most. She repeatedly brought up Simon's single father situation, asking me to be understanding of his hardships. Thanks to her, over these years, I've lived more like a single father than Simon himself. I have a wife in name, but it's no different from having none. Over time, even Lily stopped asking pitifully as she used to, "Daddy, when will mommy come home?" Last night, Simon's glaring social media post was like a fuse that completely detonated my years of disappointment and anger. Evelyn's repeated boundary-crossing behavior had already revealed the truth. This marriage was nothing more than a cover for her secrets, but I didn't show any emotion. The next morning, I sent Lily to school as usual, then went to my company. During the morning meeting, while listening to department reports, another thought was tightening like a wire in my mind. A new project had just launched. It required my full focus, but before that, I had to deal with the mess at home. Just as I was discussing project details with the team leader, Evelyn burst into the office. Her face carried disdain as she demanded, "Benjamin, what do you mean by this? My assistant told me you're filing for divorce." I glanced at her and gestured for the project manager to step out. When the door closed, only the two of us remained in the office. Calmly, I said, "I just wanted to talk." Evelyn frowned. "Talk about what? Weren't you just trying to pick a fight last night? All because of Lily's stupid little performance?" The casual tone she used when mentioning Lily sent a wave of disgust through me. "You think I want to end this marriage just because of a performance?" I stubbed out my cigarette, my voice turning cold. "Evelyn, do you really think I don't know what you've been doing all these years?" Evelyn's expression faltered slightly but quickly returned to calm. "What nonsense are you talking about? What could I possibly have done? At most, I've just been helping Simon watch his child occasionally. Do you have to make such a big deal out of it?" Her face looked tired, the dark circles under her eyes almost making her seem like a caring sister exhausted from helping her foster brother. If it weren't for Simon's post last night, if I hadn't already decided to start investigating, maybe I would still be deceived by her. Just like before, Simon's child is Simon's responsibility. When he's sick, there are hospitals. If he needs help, he has nannies and his own family. My voice was steady. "So why is it that every time Simon needs something, he only ever calls you, and you're always at his beck and call?" Evelyn's face stiffened. She forced a faint smile. "All right, stop being so sarcastic. I know you're just upset that I haven't been around much lately. I'll pay more attention from now on. Next month is our wedding anniversary. I'll book your favorite restaurant. I'll make it up to you and Lily. Okay?" She tried to deflect the issue with another empty promise. I didn't respond, only stared at her. After a few seconds, I said evenly, "Evelyn, I've been hearing your promises for 10 years. They're all bullshit." I picked up my phone and made a call. Notify the HR and legal departments, start a full financial and personnel background investigation on several Lin Group subsidiaries immediately. Evelyn froze completely, her face turning pale. What are you doing?" Her voice rose several octaves. Watching her panic, I felt nothing much. "Since this is ending, everything should be made clear. The money and favors the Lin family has taken from me over the years, it's time to settle those accounts." Evelyn lost control, screaming, "Benjamin, don't be crazy. I won't agree to a divorce. You'll destroy the Lin family with this." I leaned back in my chair, my expression cold. "That's your family's problem. Now, please leave. I don't have time to waste on this." Evelyn opened her mouth as if to argue further, but I was done listening. I picked up a file and started reading, completely ignoring her. Furious at my indifference, Evelyn turned and slammed the door behind her. Looking at the closed door, I rubbed my temples and called out to my assistant, "Have someone keep an eye on Evelyn and Simon." Chapter 3. Evelyn's obsessive concern for Simon went far beyond what could be considered normal, especially the way she doted on Simon's child. It was disturbing. Her half-hearted excuses, helping my foster brother, taking care of his child, could never justify that near-pathological level of devotion. These oddities were like sharp fragments lodged in my heart, stabbing there for 10 long years. I had long suspected something wasn't right, but since Lily was still young, I didn't dare confront the truth that might be hiding beneath the surface. I couldn't gamble with the possibility that my daughter would have to face a broken home too soon because of my decision. Yet each time Evelyn broke her promise to Lily, watching my little girl hold back her tears in disappointment, and the cold reality that Evelyn gave the princess doll, the one she had promised to Lily, to Simon's child instead, that was when I finally woke up, letting Lily continue to hold on to hope for a mother who existed in name only. Watching her be hurt again and again, that was the true cruelty. Rather than letting my daughter struggle in the illusion of a complete family built on lies, I'd rather shatter the illusion and give her a real home, one built on love. My patience and endurance all these years had been a mistake beyond measure. Suppressing the storm in my chest, I opened the encrypted file my assistant had sent me. Evelyn's arrangements for Simon's return to the country were overly cautious, almost secretive, and Simon's background, especially the information about his so-called ex-wife, was full of inconsistencies. As I sat in deep thought, my phone screen lit up. The caller ID read, "Mom." Taking a deep breath, I answered, trying to sound relaxed. "Hey Mom, what's up?" My mother's gentle voice came through the line. "Son, I watched Lily's performance video last night. She was wonderful. You've worked so hard, taking care of her all by yourself again." Her warm words filled my heart with a quiet comfort. My parents had always been my strongest support. "Mom, there's something I need to tell you." I paused, my tone turning firm. "I've decided to divorce Evelyn." There was a brief silence, then a trace of concern entered her voice. "Have you thought it through? You've held on alone all these years. It hasn't been easy." "What about the Lin family? What did they say?" "Evelyn doesn't agree, and I haven't discussed it in depth with them yet, but I've already started investigating certain things. I need to gather enough evidence and leverage. As for Lily, don't worry, I'll take care of her. What she needs now is a home that's truly filled with love." My mother immediately replied, her tone full of strength. "If you've made up your mind, good. Don't be afraid. No matter what you do, your father and I will always stand by your side." A warmth spread through me, and I smiled with gratitude. "Thanks, Mom. With you and Dad around, I've got nothing to fear." After hanging up, I felt a bit lighter. I knew that once I confronted the Lin family head-on, they would never let it go easily. Just as I was immersed in the investigation report, my phone rang again. This time, the caller ID said, "Mrs. Lin, Evelyn's mother, a woman who always prioritized family interests and had nothing but contempt for me." I answered with a flat tone. "Hello." Mrs. Lin's annoyed voice came through sharply. "Benjamin, what's this I hear? Evelyn says you're asking for a divorce. Why are you talking about divorce instead of living your life properly? What? Just because she didn't show up at Lily's silly little school play last night, you're throwing a tantrum? What's wrong with sitting down and talking things out between husband and wife? Why make a scene? Do you think you're that important?" Her words dripped with venom, making me let out a cold laugh. Explain to her. There was no point. The Lin family had always been experts at twisting the truth. "Mrs. Lin," I interrupted, "this isn't a marital spat. It's a divorce. And as for whether I'm just throwing a tantrum, your family knows the truth better than anyone. You should be more aware than I am of what your daughter has done, shouldn't you?" At that, Mrs. Lin's voice shot up several pitches, sharp and hysterical. "Don't get cocky, Benjamin. Do you have any idea how much damage your divorce would cause the Lin family? Have you even thought about Lily? She's still a child. What will happen to her if you two divorce?" Chapter 4. Mrs. Lin pushed all the blame onto me, but I knew the truth perfectly well. In her eyes, I, the son-in-law chosen by the Lin family, was never worth as much as Simon. What's more, the Lin family's outward glamour in recent years was only a facade. Behind the scenes, they were sliding downhill fast. If not for my connections and influence in the business world, and the constant flow of resources from my own company, the Lin family's fortune would have been drained dry long ago, by their own hands. Yet the shady dealings between Evelyn and Simon were not something her parents were unaware of. The only reason they could turn a blind eye, while still daring to lecture me, was because they relied on the Lin family's old reputation and wealth. And because they thought having Lily tied me down, that they could control me easily through her. Their plan was obvious. As long as Lily existed, I'd be forced to swallow my pride for her sake. That way, they could keep treating me like their personal cash machine. So even when I mentioned divorce, Mrs. Lin was still confident I would back down, that I would compromise for Lily. Mrs. Lin spoke with her usual arrogance. "All right, Benjamin, I know you're upset. You're young and full of temper. That's understandable. Yes, Evelyn may have done some wrong things, but I'll talk to her. I'll make sure she takes you and Lily out for a little trip to relax. Don't blow a small issue out of proportion." A bitter, mocking laugh rose in my chest. At that moment, Mr. Lin took over the call, his tone full of false fatherly concern. "Benjamin, you're a good man, capable, hard-working. You've done a lot for our Lin family over the years. We all see that. But you know, in marriage, both sides need to be understanding. Evelyn takes care of Simon more because he's her brother. You should try to understand her too. After all, we're all family. Why make things so extreme?" Every word he spoke was an excuse for his daughter, and for that so-called foster brother. What a ridiculous family. The real reason for their call was obvious. They were afraid I'd do something that might harm the Lin family's interests. I didn't want to waste another word. My voice turned cold. "My decision isn't up for your approval. It's just a notification. The divorce will happen." Silence. They probably never imagined I'd speak to them in this tone. From today on, I said flatly, there will be no ties between me, Benjamin, and the Lin family. Evelyn's infidelity and her betrayal are what destroyed this family. The entire Lin family bears responsibility for it. I'm fully prepared to raise Lily on my own. She's my daughter, Benjamin's daughter, and from now on, she'll have nothing to do with the Lin family and its filth. My words landed like bombs, leaving them stunned on the other end of the line. Immediately, Mrs. Lin's shrill voice exploded through the receiver, full of fury. Benjamin, what do you mean by that? What do you mean, infidelity? How dare you slander Evelyn like this? She treated you so well, and you ungrateful bastard, now you're calling her names. All she ever did was take care of her foster brother. Instead of being understanding, you're divorcing her. You're selfish and cruel. Do you want to destroy the Lin family? It was obvious, Evelyn and Simon were the ones at fault, yet somehow the blame always fell on me. This disgusting reversal of right and wrong, I'd seen it too many times over the years, but from this moment on, my tolerance had reached its absolute end. Chapter 5. Simon appeared in the Lin family during the 3rd year of my marriage with Evelyn. That was when I first learned that the Lins had adopted a distant relative's child. He was a few years younger than Evelyn, raised abroad, and had just returned to the country after finishing his studies, supposedly to reconnect with his family. Evelyn's reaction was unusually enthusiastic. Using the excuse that Simon was unfamiliar with life back home, she began running to his place frequently, checking in on him, fussing over every little detail, helping him with anything he needed. Even back then, I could feel that something wasn't right. Did a grown man really need a married sister to take care of him so closely? But I still chose to trust Evelyn, to believe she was simply fulfilling her sisterly duty. I thought that once Simon settled in, she would shift her focus back to our small family. I never expected that during her postpartum confinement, while I was staying by her side, she would get a call from Simon. On the phone, Simon sounded flustered, like he was in some kind of trouble. Without a second thought, Evelyn rushed out of the house to his place, leaving behind her husband and her newborn daughter. After that day, I faced every important moment of our daughter's life alone. And Evelyn, she was always by another man's side. What chilled me even more was that when I confronted her parents about her behavior, they acted as though they'd been waiting for it, covering for her while turning around to accuse me of being petty and narrow-minded. Every time Evelyn and I argued because of Simon, they would feed me the same nauseating excuse about deep sibling affection. I finally snapped during one of those calls. Enough, I'm done arguing. I cut off Mrs. Lin's shrill voice on the other end of the line. This divorce isn't up for discussion. I'm not asking for your permission, I'm informing you. I hung up, exhaustion flooding through every cell of my body. I got up and went home, intending to take a shower and get some rest. Just then, a sudden, frantic knocking echoed through the door. Benjamin, I know you're in there. The door rattled under her pounding fists. Open the door, I need to talk to you. It was Evelyn's voice. Her parents must have already told her what happened. Realizing the danger, she had rushed over immediately. I took a deep breath, forcing down the burning anger in my chest. Now, I thought, let's see how far she plans to take her little performance. I stood up and opened the door. Rain rushed in, splashing across the threshold. I instinctively stepped aside, frowning in disgust. Evelyn stormed in, her wet hands clutching at my arm. Benjamin, are you serious? You really want a divorce? Her eyes were red, her tone laced with a sob. Is this because I haven't contacted you and Lily these past few days? I've just been too busy and lost track of time. When my mom called and said you were really angry, I came back right away. Ignoring the rain dripping from her hair and clothes, she spoke quickly, almost desperately. I bought the princess doll I promised Lily, and the anniversary gift for you too. They're both in the car. Her pitiful attempt at acting moved me no more than a cheap stage drama. I looked at her, a bitter smile curling my lips. Evelyn, do you really think this is meaningful anymore? Chapter 6. I pulled my arm back sharply, my voice cold as ice. Evelyn, no one knows better than you what's gone wrong between us. With this kind of perfunctory attitude, not just me, even Lily won't believe another word that comes out of your mouth. Evelyn's face turned pale instantly, as if she'd been stabbed. Her voice trembled with panic. Benjamin, I know I've failed you and Lily, but you can't refuse to give me even one more chance. You said before, even if I made mistakes, you'd give me a chance to make things right, didn't you? Have you forgotten our promises from back then? Please, I'm begging you this time. Okay. How ironic. She was the one who trampled those promises into the dirt. And now I was the one being accused of being unreasonable. I looked at her coldly, fully aware of what was really happening. She wasn't here out of love. She didn't truly care about Lily, either. More likely, her parents had given her strict orders to calm me down, to keep me in place so that the Lin family's interests wouldn't suffer. The woman standing before me now, there wasn't even a flicker of the tenderness that once moved me. Only the panic and desperation that came from seeing her financial security slipping away. Seeing that I still didn't respond, Evelyn's gaze flickered. She tried to change the subject. She picked up her phone and pointed at a picture of Lily, her tone suddenly soft and gentle. Benjamin, I know Lily has always wanted a big birthday party. It was my fault before, for always being absent. I'll make it up to her this time. You can invite whoever you want. I'll leave everything up to you. All right. She kept talking, as if rehearsing a script. I know I've neglected you both before. From now on, I'll listen to you in everything. I'll focus on the family, and stay out of company affairs. You and Lily will always come first. Listening to her hollow promises, my heart sank even deeper. Everything she was saying now, it was no different from the countless times I'd heard it over the past 10 years. Evelyn, don't take me for a fool. I cut her off coldly, my gaze sharp and unyielding. If you really wanted to make amends, why haven't you mentioned your dear foster brother, Simon? My words hit their mark, a flicker of panic flashed through her eyes. I pressed on. How exactly do you plan to handle your relationship with Simon? And what about his child? Are you really capable of cutting ties completely? Evelyn's eyes darted away, her voice unnaturally calm. He's just my foster brother. Before she could finish, the doorbell suddenly rang. Evelyn froze on instinct. A second later, her phone began to ring as well. I caught a glimpse of the caller ID, Simon. Evelyn's expression crumbled. She glanced at me nervously, fumbling to hang up the call. But just seconds later, the phone started ringing again. Everything became crystal clear in that moment. I let out a low, bitter laugh and stared straight at her. So this is your idea of making things right? You even told Simon where I live? Chapter 7. Simon must have something urgent if he's calling me this late. Evelyn saw the coldness in my face, and a flicker of panic crossed her eyes. But in the end, just like every other time before, she instinctively chose Simon. Outside, Simon stood in the rain, his face full of feigned anxiety. When he saw me, a flash of smugness flickered in his eyes, but he quickly masked it with pitiful weakness and turned to Evelyn. Evelyn, the baby suddenly has a high fever. She keeps crying for you. I really don't know what to do. Evelyn's tone softened with sympathy. Don't worry, I'll go check on her right away. From where she couldn't see, Simon threw me a look filled with open provocation. Then, as if suddenly remembering my presence, he continued in that deliberately helpless voice. I didn't want to disturb you too, but the baby's throat is hoarse from crying. She's so scared without her mommy. He deliberately emphasized the word mommy, his gaze sliding toward me again, full of malicious intent. Evelyn, completely blind to his act, looked at me with guilt and said softly, Benjamin, Simon soaked from the rain. Could you get him a towel or a coat? She was asking me, in my own house, to take care of Simon. I almost laughed from sheer disbelief and disgust. It wasn't until Evelyn caught the icy mockery in my eyes that she seemed to suddenly remember why she had come here in the first place. Simon then grabbed her wrist again. Evelyn, the baby's fever is really bad. I'm scared she won't make it through the night. Evelyn immediately panicked. All right, I'll go take care of her now. Simon, you've been out in the rain too long. Why don't you stay here tonight? Before I could respond, she turned to me, speaking with that self-righteous tone of hers. Benjamin, let him rest here for the night. I'll explain everything tomorrow. She expected me, her betrayed husband, to agree to let her suspected lover, the father of her supposed foster brother's child, spend the night in my house. This was my home. There was no way in hell I'd tolerate something so shameless. I didn't bother arguing. I simply called security. Within minutes, the guards arrived. Evelyn flinched, startled by the sudden commotion, and protectively stepped in front of Simon. Benjamin, what are you doing? Look at him, he's drenched. Can't you let him stay just one night? How can you be so heartless? I let out a cold laugh, standing off to the side and pointing toward them. Escort them both out. Evelyn's face twisted, turning pale and ugly. Simon's eyes darkened with a flash of hatred. Moments later, the security guards escorted the two of them out of the house. Silence fell over the villa once again, a suffocating, empty quiet. I stood alone by the doorway, rubbing my aching temples. Chapter 8. I finished handling my morning business as usual. Just as I was about to head out for lunch, a sudden commotion erupted outside my office. Before I could even react, Evelyn appeared at the doorway, holding a beautifully wrapped gift box. My secretary followed closely behind, looking apologetic. President, I'm sorry, Mrs. Lin insisted on coming in. We couldn't stop her. I frowned slightly and gestured for the secretary to leave. Evelyn had already stepped forward, holding the box out to me with a forced, gentle smile. Benjamin, she said sweetly, I came to discuss a few details about Lily's birthday party with you. I wanted to talk face to face. She mentioned Lily, but her tone was focused entirely on what she brought. This is what I owed Lily before, and also your anniversary gift. Please don't be angry anymore, okay? Her voice was syrupy soft, almost nauseatingly so. It was hard to believe this was the same woman who had stood outside my house crying just last night. Evelyn rarely came to my company, let alone set aside her Lin family heiress attitude to come play nice. She wasn't here because of guilt, she was here to stop the divorce. I said bluntly, Evelyn, this act is pointless. I didn't even reach for the gift box. Her smile froze on her face. Benjamin, why are you being so heartless? She said, her voice trembling with feigned grievance. I just want to make it up to you and Lily, to give Lily a proper birthday party. Is that really wrong? You're still angry about Simon, aren't you? I've told you so many times, he's just my foster brother. I've only been helping him because he came back from abroad alone, with no one to rely on. Watching her keep up this performance, I felt nothing but disgust. Leaning back in my chair, I spoke coldly. I don't care what kind of relationship you and Simon have. Take care of whoever you want, that's your business. But don't come here and disgust me with it. I paused, my gaze drifting briefly toward the gift box in her hands. If you've got that much free time to play pretend here, maybe you should use it to figure out how much of the Lin family's assets will be left once the divorce papers are signed. Don't come crying when it's too late. I had no intention of wasting another minute arguing with her, nor did I want my employees to witness this farce. Without another word, I picked up my phone and sent a message to my secretary, call security. Then I stood up and walked toward the floor-to-ceiling window, turning my back to Evelyn, as if she didn't exist at all. Behind me, I heard her hurried footsteps. Benjamin, wait, please, just listen to me. Before she could finish, the sound of chaos erupted outside. Someone had barged into my office. It was Simon. Evelyn gasped. Simon, what are you doing here? But Simon didn't even look at her. His pale face was twisted with fury as he glared directly at me. Benjamin, what the hell do you want? You have no right to control where Evelyn goes. Evelyn's expression changed instantly. She grabbed at his sleeve, trying to stop him. Simon, please don't say anything. But Simon ignored her. His eyes locked on me with pure hatred. You think you've won? If it weren't for me, the Lin family wouldn't have even noticed you. Evelyn's voice rose, pleading, almost in tears. Simon, stop it. This is between us. Simon yanked his arm out of her grasp. Between us? Evelyn, you're abandoning me for him now. What about your promise? You said, the first person I'd see when I opened my eyes would always be you. Are you going back on your word now? His twisted dependence and obsessive tone made my skin crawl. I sneered at him. Simon, how old are you? Can't survive without your sister? You're a grown man. Stop acting like a baby who needs constant attention. What happens between Evelyn and me is none of your damn business. My words hit him like a slap. Simon flinched, taking a few steps back, hatred searing in his eyes. Don't push your luck, Benjamin. He spat. If you hadn't stirred all this up with Evelyn Lin, the Lin family wouldn't be in this mess. You pathetic snake, are you proud now that you've dragged them down? Chapter 9. Simon, stop talking, Evelyn shouted. At that exact moment, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a DNA test report. My pupils constricted sharply, and my grip on the phone tightened. The words on that report hit me like a hammer straight to the chest. That so-called Simon's child was Evelyn's biological daughter, and Simon was the biological father. No wonder Evelyn had been so obsessed with him. No wonder she had always neglected her own daughter, Lily, because all of her motherly love had gone to the illegitimate child she shared with Simon. The entire Lin family, her parents included, knew about it. They had even helped cover it up. The truth was filthier than I had ever imagined, suppressing the surge of rage and disgust boiling inside me. I lifted my head and looked coldly at the two people still putting on their pathetic show before me. Evelyn, you make me sick. My icy voice sliced through their shouting like a knife. Both of them turned toward me, faces pale, eyes wide with shock. I raised my phone slightly, letting the light reflect off the screen. No wonder Simon's child always calls for you. Turns out you're not her aunt after all, you're her mother. My words struck them like a bolt of lightning. In an instant, both their faces went from pale to ashen gray. Evelyn's body swayed, her lips trembling. Benjamin, please, listen to me. It's not what you think. I yanked my arm away, my voice void of all mercy. I don't want to hear another damn word from you. Then I spat out the final blow. That child is your and Simon's bastard. I have all the evidence, every disgusting detail of what you two have done. If you don't want the entire Lin family to collapse under the weight of this scandal tomorrow morning, then you'd better sign the papers quietly. I threw the divorce agreement and Lily's custody documents onto the desk. Evelyn's body trembled violently, like a leaf caught in a storm. Watching the despair on their faces, I felt nothing, no pity, no sadness, only the cold satisfaction of truth laid bare. Without another word, I turned to leave. Evelyn suddenly lunged forward, gripping my arm with surprising strength. Benjamin, you can't leave. You can't walk away from me. I won't divorce you. You're mine, you'll always be mine. Simon, seeing her clutch me like that, suddenly burst into laughter, manic and bitter. Wake up, Evelyn, he shouted. Benjamin never cared about you. He only ever wanted the Lin family's money and power. I'm the only one who truly loves you. He pointed a trembling finger at me, his voice growing louder, his tone deranged with mockery. Even if you want a divorce, Benjamin, you won't dare make this public. You wouldn't dare destroy the Lin family's reputation, because deep down, you can't do it. You're too afraid to let go of what they've built for you. The two of them were truly made for each other, a pair of perfect hypocrites, as Evelyn kept pulling at me, and Simon's arrogance twisted into madness. I reached the end of my patience. I pulled out my phone and called the head of corporate security. Within minutes, several uniformed guards rushed in. They took one look at the chaos in the room and, without hesitation, pried Evelyn and Simon off me. I stared at them, my expression as cold as ice. Get them out of here, I ordered flatly. From now on, no one from the Lin family, not even Simon, is allowed to step foot in this company again without my permission. I was done with them, all of them. That same day, I handed every piece of evidence and my divorce intention to my legal team. In the end, Evelyn and the Lin family had no choice but to agree. The divorce terms were in my favor. Lily's custody was granted to me. For the first time in years, I had finally taken back control of my life. Chapter 10. The moment I held the divorce certificate in my hands, it felt as though a massive weight had finally been lifted off my chest. With that chapter closed, I poured all my focus into the company. I threw myself into work, often skipping meals and losing track of time. Whenever I did take a breather, it was only to visit Lily or have dinner with my parents. Under their care and my companionship, Lily's smile slowly returned, bright and carefree again. But even iron eventually rusts. The endless hours and constant pressure began to take a toll on my body. One evening, after handling an urgent matter, I drove home as usual. Halfway there, a sudden, violent headache crashed over me like a wave. I had to pull the car over, beads of cold sweat dripping down my forehead. I tried to get out to catch my breath, fumbling for my phone to call my driver, but before I could finish dialing, my vision went dark. The next thing I knew, I was lying on a hospital bed. The pain had dulled, but it was still there, pulsing faintly behind my eyes. I rubbed the bruise on my arm from where I must have fallen and reached for the call button. When the door opened quietly, standing there was my old college classmate, Melissa. She was holding a small insulated lunch box, and when she saw me awake, she smiled with relief. Her smile was warm, like sunlight breaking through a winter morning. Benjamin, finally, you scared me half to death. She placed the lunch box on the bedside table and chuckled softly. It's been so long. I didn't expect our reunion to happen like this. Melissa, you're the last person I thought I'd see here. I was genuinely surprised, the last I'd heard. She'd gone abroad for further studies after graduation. Melissa opened the lunchbox. Inside was a steaming bowl of millet porridge and a few light side dishes. I recently decided to move back home, she explained, pouring the porridge into a bowl. I was out yesterday, heading to a meeting, when I saw you collapse by the roadside. You scared the life out of me. She gave me a half-reproachful look. You're still overworking yourself. Huh? That old stomach problem of yours hasn't gone away, has it? She remembered that. My minor stomach issues from our college days, caused by late nights and too much coffee. A faint warmth stirred in my chest. I hadn't expected anyone to remember something so small. After all these years, under my parents' and Melissa's persuasion, I finally listened to the doctors and stayed in the hospital for a few days. During my stay, Melissa came to visit every day, bringing freshly cooked, gentle meals and staying to chat. She was still the same as ever, lively, bright, full of spark. Being around her seemed to lift the heaviness that had been clinging to me for years. On the day I was discharged, Melissa insisted on driving me home. To celebrate your miraculous recovery, we're going out for a good meal, she said with a grin, as she lightly took my arm, leading me toward the elevator. I realized, for the first time, that I was truly single again. The name, Evelyn, no longer had any hold on me. We went to a newly opened fine dining restaurant downtown. The atmosphere was elegant, peaceful, until a sharp, venomous voice shattered it. Benjamin, what the hell, did you rush to divorce me just for her? You couldn't even wait a few weeks before cozying up with another woman. I turned my head. Evelyn. She looked thinner, her once carefully groomed appearance replaced by fatigue and spite. Her face twisted with anger and jealousy as she stormed toward us. I opened my mouth to speak, but Melissa stepped forward first, blocking her path. Her tone was polite, but sharp as a blade. Excuse me, miss. Please mind your words. Mr. Benjamin is single. He has every right to choose who he spends time with. Unless, of course, you have something on your conscience, something that might explain why he chose to end your marriage. A flash of guilt flickered in Evelyn's eyes, but she quickly masked it with fury. What are you talking about? I did nothing wrong. It was him. He's the one who was cruel. He left me for someone better. Melissa's smile never faltered, but her voice cooled a few degrees. Oh, is that so? Then perhaps you'd care to explain. Have you ever truly fulfilled your duties as a wife? Did you ever care for your daughter, Lily, the way a mother should? Or were you too busy caring for people and things that were never your responsibility? Her words were soft, but every syllable hit like a hammer. Even without naming Simon or the child, her implication was enough to make Evelyn's face drain of color. Evelyn's composure snapped. She lunged forward, screeching, "You filthy homewrecker, I'll tear your mouth apart." But the restaurant security staff had already rushed over and stopped her. Chapter 11. I no longer paid any attention to Evelyn's hysteria. After the security staff intervened, I left the restaurant with Melissa. On the way back, Melissa was smart enough not to ask questions. Her presence was like a fresh spring, washing away the grime left on my heart by the Lin family's mess. From that day on, Melissa became my neighbor. She bought a house right next to my villa, and we started sharing meals every day, talking about funny stories and frustrations from work. The ease and warmth she brought into my life was something I had never experienced with Evelyn. Time flew by. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. During those 3 years, my company experienced explosive growth. I led my team through challenge after challenge, expanding into new markets and establishing a solid footing internationally. Meanwhile, the Lin family's businesses, the ones that had tried to profit off me, began to crumble under my hands. Their valuations plummeted. Many projects were acquired by me, leaving them badly wounded and unable to compete ever again. During these years, my relationship with Melissa also blossomed. What began as mutual admiration turned into a true partnership. With the blessings of our families and friends, we held a simple yet heartfelt wedding. Lily, now a bright young girl with clear, sparkling eyes, smiled as she handed us our wedding rings. I drew a deep breath, my eyes damp. I was profoundly grateful that I hadn't kept struggling in Evelyn's swamp, grateful that I had stopped in time. For Lily, and for myself, I had fought for a new life, and now, both Lily and I were happy, truly happy. Not long after our marriage, Melissa became pregnant. I delegated most of my work to trusted deputies, cutting down on social obligations and spending more time with Melissa and Lily. I no longer avoided mentioning Evelyn and Simon because they had completely vanished from my world. Sometimes, I would still hear updates about them from my parents. The Lin family, having lost my connections and funding, was no longer the grand force it once pretended to be. The projects I had taken over had only accelerated their downfall. Evelyn and Simon eventually ended up together, but their life was now a far cry from the lavish days they once flaunted. I heard they quarreled constantly, about money, about blame. Things like, if it weren't for your stupid idea, the Lin family wouldn't have collapsed so quickly. If I were still Benjamin's wife, I'd have everything. And, you're one to talk. If you hadn't provoked Benjamin, if you weren't so useless you couldn't even handle him, would we be here now? When they tore each other apart, my name would sometimes come up, but never with longing, only with seething resentment. Mom, it's all in the past. Don't mention them anymore, I said with a smile, cutting my mother off. They had only themselves to blame for the life they were living now. My father emerged from the kitchen carrying a steaming dish of vinegar-braised fish. Dinner's ready. Lily, now sensible and sweet, pulled out a chair for me. Daddy, sit here. Then she brought over a soft cushion for Melissa. Mommy, sit here, it's more comfortable. Looking at my loving wife, my adorable daughter, and my kind parents gathered around me, a deep sense of fulfillment surged through my chest. After living through that oppressive, dark marriage, I had finally seized the happiness that truly belonged to me.